if the board is willing to accommodate some public members, we could do public comment at the beginning of the meeting, if that's all right. Okay, with that, then I would like to open it up for public comment. And Jacqueline, you can have some of our guests here come and have a few moments to make some comment. Okay?
Okay. Yep. If they could just raise their hands and I will unmute. Okay, Bennett, you are all good to go.
And, thank you all for the courtesy of letting us speak early. I'm Bennett Pudlin. I'm a member of the Affordable Housing Committee and also a member of a subcommittee of that group, which has been charged with ensuring that the affordable housing plan is in sync with other town plans and policies and developments, especially including the plan of conservation and development and the town strategic plan. My two colleagues, Jacqueline, you'll have to tell me because I can't see who's here. Eric Rockman and Anthony Amplo are also supposed to be attending.
They are both on.
Oh, great. Yep. So yeah, it'd be good if you could unmute them as well. I'll just speak briefly and then ask them to add their thoughts as well. So we were appointed in January, not seated till February, and the committee has been working largely to inform itself. None of us were on the ad hoc committee that drafted the plan that the town adopted a year ago, June. So we had a lot of catching up to do. And we're still very, very much in that phase. But we've also been reaching out to all of the organizations, groups, neighborhoods, constituencies that we could identify in Madison in order to get ourselves invited to come listen to these constituencies about their experience of housing in Madison and their thoughts about what, if anything, the town should be doing. We thought it was critical that we hear from all the residents, or as many as possible, at least give the entire town the opportunity to be heard before we start the process of formulating recommendations to the town for how to implement the plan that it adopted. Obviously, we are hopeful that the adopted plan finds an important spot somewhere in the town strategic plan. And while we are focused on affordable housing, and that is indeed our charge, it didn't take us long to realize that affordable housing is a critical part of a larger housing issue for the town. And so, you know, if we had a tagline for our committee, I think it might be housing for all, because the impediments to affordable housing don't only impact affordable housing. I think there are things that can and should be changed in order to facilitate housing at all levels for all different diverse groups in our community. Seniors being, you know, the obvious example where it crosses economic lines completely. We have folks who describe themselves as rambling in 5,000 square foot houses on the ocean with no kids and wanting to downsize so they can stay here. And we have, you know, 85-year-old widows in a family home that they can't maintain and is falling apart and they don't know where to go, and everything in between. The other thing, though, that we did want to share with you, and I hope you this is self-evident to you, that housing really is a critical component of so much else that you're including in the plan. So, you know, to the extent that the plan is focusing on economic development, for example, It's obvious that you're not going to be able to have great increases in employment without a place for people to live. To the extent that you're looking at infrastructure, the lack of public water and sewers has a dramatic impact on housing. If you're looking at how to maintain the excellence of our education system, you're not going to do that if the headcount in our schools falls to a level where we can no longer offer the rich curriculum, especially the special curriculum that Madison is famous for, and that so many people moved here to take advantage of. And we can go on, but I'm hopeful that the plan will acknowledge how critical housing is to all of this and more, so that it maintains the highest priority as we try to figure out which of the many things we have to do get done in what order. And with that, I'd like to ask my two colleagues if they would care to speak, and then if you have any questions for us, we'd be happy to respond.
Hi, this is Eric Ratchman. I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee along with Bennett and Anthony. And I echo really everything Bennett said. I really believe that affordable housing intersects with all of the priorities that this town has, from environmental aspects to economic development to education. The things that really make Madison great are, somewhat impeded by the lack of diversity in housing. And it really is, as Bennett said, a housing for all. Right now, just houses on big lots, really doesn't allow us to create much diversity for, again, single people, young families, older retirees to come into town or stay in town to support the growth of this community overall. And so I just really echo those comments by Bennett and believe it's valuable. And again, our charter is very specific on affordable housing, but we really come to believe that it's about diversity of housing in the community.
Thank you. I don't know, Anthony Amplo, would you like to make a few comments? I think. No?
Well, I was on mute. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I was talking to myself. Hi, everybody. I'm Anthony Amplo. I've lived here. Hey, Seth. I've lived here 28 years, raised 3 kids, and love this town. I echo what Bennett says and Eric. You guys touched on all the points. I think our charter is clear in our mission, and we just wanted to make sure we convey that to you guys to include it, because like the guys said, our seniors, our veterans, our first responders, if they live in our community, it just makes a stronger community, and they're struggling. And I think we have a noble mission here, and I'm glad to be part of it. So thank you.
Yeah, maybe just one more comment, and it's in the affordable housing plan. But I think and I saw the survey results, and I can't remember if it was the housing or conservation development of the strategic plan, that affordable housing didn't rise very high on the list of priorities or even knowledge in most of the community. But if you actually look at the affordable housing plan, 30% or so of our community is actually considered housing burdened. And that's, the community that already lives here and at large. And it's for a lot of those reasons we talked about. And so it's about serving the community that's already here in many ways, our first responders, our educators, our town employees, et cetera, that we're really looking to help and keep them in the community.
Great. Well, I appreciate your comments, and there'll be an opportunity to have further public input as this plan kind of moves through the process. So we welcome that. I do think that even though there wasn't a lot of direct feedback on housing, I think one of the messages that came out of both the focus groups, the community meeting that we had, and the survey was a desire to have just multi-generational people in Madison, right? And so in order to do that, you need to be able to offer different types of housing to suit those different needs of the different types of the community. So I think there was some stuff that did come out that resonated very much. And I do think people did talk about. So I know the survey didn't necessarily like drill into that, but that survey was trying to cover a lot of different things. But I think that affordability still came up in a lot of the conversations, development came up in a lot of the conversations, and then a strong message, at least I took away, was that we want to be multi-generational. We don't want to just be this aging population now. We really want to make sure that we can attract younger people into the community, keep families here, but also let seniors stay. So, so I think those will all be things that will be part of this process as we move through. And so I appreciate your comments, and the affordable housing plan was also given to our consultants. And, you know, so they've seen the copy of that, and we'll be, you know, making sure that somehow a lot of that is part of, you know, this draft as we move forward. So any other comments from SPAC, and then we can move back to our meeting? Okay, great. And then I don't know if there's anybody else on, but, you know, we can open up to public comment at the end of the meeting if for somebody's trickles in later. So with that, so, okay, great. Well, thank you for that. And I guess moving on to our actual agenda tonight, which is going to be interesting, how I will turn it over to Zach. I know that we all kind of weighed in with some thoughts, and we all write things differently and express ourselves differently. So that's why it's nice to have a facilitator here. So with that, I will turn it over to Zach.
Now I am unmuted. Can everyone hear me first? I'm seeing some head nods and some thumbs up. And can everyone see the screen that I have shared as well? Fantastic. Thank you, Peggy. And I want to thank the public as well for just providing some additional comments here. That helps set the stage. And definitely with some things that we had heard through some of the other aspects of our community outreach. So I recognize a couple of faces on the SPAC, and I recognize a couple of names from long ago when we were doing confidential interviews. And so it's good to see everyone again. For those that I may not have met yet, I'm Zach Ratkai. I work with Cheryl Trent at Esbrand as well. And I will be your facilitator coming in from, you know, today all the way through the retreat and the implementation of the plan. So I'm looking forward to getting out and checking out Madison in a couple of weeks. It's going to be fantastic. But this evening, we want to just make sure that we are taking a look at some of the draft strategic plan language that we have in place so far. We want to see, after we've wordsmithed some things, if we can get some general concurrence from the SPAC on this language to take forward to our retreat in 2 weeks. Like we say at Esbrand, we look for, during this process, there's a lot of different community factors, a lot of different opinions, a lot of different issues and priorities and ideas. But if we can get 80% of the way there, especially as we prepare for such a robust retreat ahead of us in 2 weeks, then we've already reached concurrence, and we've got a great plan ahead of us as well. So the intent this evening is we're going to talk a little bit more, just very briefly, on the definitions of the vision statement, the mission statement, and the key areas of focus or your priority areas. We'll review the language and just kind of take some general comments and see if we have general concurrence to move forward with that language to present to our retreat. And then we'll talk a little bit about the retreat and just sort of a reminder of what's ahead for us as well. So at any time, I'm going to switch to a grid view so I can see everybody. Feel free to raise your hand. Peggy, feel free to interrupt me at any time if there's any questions along the way or anything like that. So in looking at just our general definitions of what we're looking, there's a lot of words on the screen, but we'll go through these individually. Your vision statement, as we presented in materials ahead of the meeting and throughout the encapsulation of the language, it's your definition of the future. It encapsulates your core value, and it provides a roadmap of where to go. This is really where you get idealistic. What does the town of Madison look like in the next 20, 30, 40 years? What does it look like when you are madly successful and all of your priorities and goals have been met? What is the viewpoint that you would see there? It really describes your long-term results of the community. Any questions real quick on vision? We've been through this a couple times. Seeing some head shaking there. All right, so obviously a mission statement's a little less aspirational, and it's really the what, why, how, and for whom that you work on for your agency. It's really a straightforward and easy way to state why you exist for the organization and for the community. And then finally, your key areas of focus are the biggest issues and opportunities for your organization and the community long term. And your key area of focus are your priority areas that it exists with the plan throughout its entire tenure, and you build goals and objectives around that, which is going to be the purpose of our retreat in the next couple of months. Any questions on the definitions? All right. So my associate Cheryl provided the language ahead to everyone during in an email earlier this week. And the vision statement that came out from a number of different people looking at it is the town of Madison is a friendly and thriving, flourishing community that values our small town way of life with a vibrant economy, rich history, great natural beauty, and amenities that facilitate a high quality of life for residents of all ages and interests. So I'm going to leave that up on the board. And what are the general thoughts on this? Sorry.
So I guess we can each weigh in.
Yeah.
How do you want to do this? Okay. I know you were trying to put together a lot of different thoughts because we all had kind of different comments. I think this needs, though, to be cleaned up a bit. You know, it's kind of, and so I had more of a wordsmithing proposal that I could throw out there, or I'd just let the other group to do too. It's just kind of right now, it's kind of awkward the way it's.
So I'd like to maybe just build on what Peggy said, which is I think it's a little too granular. For me, a vision statement would be something that every natural constituency in the town could read and not feel excluded from. And to pick up on the comments that we had from the affordable housing group, I think, you know, they could look at this and say, well, I don't think that we're necessarily included in this. I'm not proposing that we get more granular. I think we should be going the other way. And just by way of example, I had thought about this. I didn't send it out in advance, but my thinking is something along the lines of Madison's vision is for a journey of collective growth. Together, we'll forge a path toward a future where community excellence reigns, sustainability thrives, and the spirit of togetherness prevails. And I got there because I was deliberately looking for something that everybody could say, that applies to me, and I'm not sure that says anything at all at the same time. In other words, it's purposely vague enough and aspirational that somebody focused on education can read that and go, I can see how I fit into that vision. Somebody who's focused on affordable housing, somebody who's focused on economic development can all look at that and feel like they're included in it without calling them out specifically.
Okay. Any comments to that?
Yeah. With all due respect, it's very hard for me to process what you just said. You know, that there was a document that came out that we read that we added comments to, and I can't actually remember virtually anything that was in the statement you just said. So I would need to see
so fair
it.
enough. I think my bigger point is calling out the economy, calling out history means that we're not calling out other things. And that those other interests, natural interests, and natural constituencies could feel excluded from the vision statement because we've taken the time to call out some and not others. I guess that's my big takeaway.
Zach, would it be possible at all for you to put what Bruce just said in writing on our screen so we can all see it and share it?
I was actually going to ask Bruce if he had it. Did you read that off verbatim, or do you have it written down and you could put it in the chat?
I have it written down, and I can. Well,
You could share your screen.
And so Zach, let me ask you a more general question about the vision statement.
Yes.
Should it be so vague that it includes everybody, or should it be specific enough that it gives, you know, more specific marching instructions? I'm asking, I don't know.
This is just the aspirational definition of the future. The marching orders are typically in your mission. And keep in mind that this language has been vetted a couple of times from what I've heard as well to get to this point. And the rest, you know, this is your vision statement. It's a definitely a huge aspirational point, the end of the road, the end of the rainbow that you want to get to. But the bulk of your strategic plan, you know, your priorities are what lays out your, you know, everything that we talked about, from diverse housing opportunities to, you know, infrastructure to everything. So, you know, this can be a vague picture of the future when all of your specific priorities are accepted. But, you know, I mean, you definitely want to include what you want in your future as well. So,
Zach, I did put it up in the chat.
okay.
I mean, I think I just read I think what you wrote was well written. I guess I'm tend to be more of a, you know, specifics, like leveraging our strengths. There's these things that people feel are, you know, what we would argue is critical success factors or whatever for our community, right? In terms of our history, our vibrancy, our natural beauty. These are all unique things to Madison that make it special. So I guess that's where I think when we look at the vision, those all need to be incorporated in that vision. So I guess that's where the specificity I thought was kind of important to differentiate. Like, I feel like we want to highlight how unique we are in our vision statement, because whereas what you say is a great aspirational thing, it doesn't really, you could take that to any town in America. Right. So there's nothing in there that says Madison.
We'll copyright it and
yeah, yeah, I know. Well, I'm just saying there's nothing in there to me that says Madison when I read that. Like, you can put any town name in that. And that's not a criticism. It's well written, I think, and it is very aspirational. But I guess I'm trying to tie it back to what makes our town unique and why this is a unique vision statement to us. So that's my thought.
Yeah, well, let Seth go. He's got his hand up.
Yeah, we got two hands up.
So,
go ahead, Seth.
thank you. I tend to agree a little bit more with Peggy that I think it needs to express some degree of specificity that separates it as Madison and not any town USA. But at the same time, I think it needs to be more assertive in terms of what we envision doing to achieve the vision, rather than being passive and saying, well, we have a rich history, we have great natural beauty. I think the vision should be more aspirational in terms of what we intend to do to get from our current point to the vision point, which would be preserving our rich history, preserving our great natural beauty. We say facilitate a high quality of life. That's a good one. I can't see part of it because of the faces, so let me minimize that. We value our small town way of life. I mean, that's active enough, but because that implies that, you know, a value is something that can change over time. So we're proposing to keep that value. So I think we just need to adjust some of the wording and maybe change some of the wording to be more inclusive of things like, yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't see anything in here that says anything about the housing. You know, maybe a vibrant with instead of saying with a vibrant economy, again, that's passive, seeking to instill a vibrant economy and you know, appropriate community development or something like that. Or, you know, I think community development includes housing, and that's not in here. And usually economic and community development go together in government speak. So
Okay. Peggy, do we still have a hard stop in a half hour?
No, a hard stop is 6:30 for me. That doesn't mean the
Oh,
group
okay.
can't continue on, but no, I'm hard stop at 6:30 for me.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're managing because we got a couple other things to get through as well. Thank you, Seth. We got that in place as well. Jonathan, you were the next with a hand up, and then we'll go down the list.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to level set a little bit in my understanding. My understanding was that the vision statement was from the visioning sessions we had, that this was where we ended up. And I think there was from that, at least by design, Bruce, the sense was that it should be granular. And that we need to have some of the specific things that our community brought up as important to them in order to represent our community accurately. And so I think the feedback is good. I do think it should be my flavor on second viewing of this and sort of the definitional stuff that Zach provided is that this does not seem aspirational. This seems factual. And I think maybe the language has to be tweaked just to say that we're aspiring not just to maintain this, but that to Seth's point, that we need to include some of the, whether it's, affordable housing or other issues that are about our long-term aspirations, somehow that has to be merged into this.
Okay. Helen, you're at the top of my list, or my viewpoint here.
Thank you. So I'm kind of agreeing with this kind of, so when I read it, so part of the reason you have a vision statement is so the person picking up the strategic plan can have a picture of what the town should be given the strategic plan. You want to create an image for the reader. And I think that we need some specificity in the vision statement in order to create an image for the reader. And so I would agree that I think it needs to be a little more granular and a little bit more specific about the qualities that we want. I would also totally concur that this is not aspirational. This is a statement of fact in theory. And so what we want to do is to show those things that we hope to achieve. And then my last comment is just that a very specific part of this that I kind of reacted to was the residents of all ages and interests. And I would really recommend we have to look at those words, and because it's not just about ages and just about interest, to Bruce's point, there's a whole range of residents, whether it's backgrounds, whether it's whatever words we want to put in there. I think we have to be really careful to make sure that we are not just selecting ages and interests.
I think we could fix that pretty easily by saying for all residents, period.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And thank you, Helen. David, we'll go to you next.
Very quickly, Helen said what I was going to say. I think the last sentence is remarkably specific and exclusionary of a lot of other groups that we would want to recognize.
Okay. Great. Thank you, David. Matt.
Yeah, thank you. I want to take a little bit of a different stance and a little bit closer to Bruce's. I think the specificity that everyone's talking about is trying to wrap up other vision statements for different groups into this one. If we go back to what Cheryl's concept was about this committee and the work that it's doing, is that it wraps around everything else. So the vision statement that we have, that we're coming up with, really needs to be not as specific. It needs to transcend and talk about the essence of what we're trying to get to. And then the vision statements of housing, the vision statements of those groups would tie into that. But I just don't want this one statement to try to do every little agenda item. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so David, Matt, well, Matt just weighed in. David, do you have another, or do you just leave the hand up? Okay, so tying it together, we've got a little bit of a general consensus on some of the stuff, but we also have a complete rewrite, and we've got you know, that just I guess just what I'm getting is be very inclusive, but also include, you know, all of the items that we need to look at as well, and be a little bit more aspirational with this. Okay. So I'm going to put a pin in this for now, unless there's other questions on vision. We'll move to our mission statement. Okay. So the mission statement is the what, why, and how, and for whom the statement about the agency. So that's your action. That's what someone had mentioned about the vision statement. What are we doing to get to that vision? And what was written over here was our mission is to ensure an attractive, sustainable, and welcoming environment by offering premier schools, abundant natural resources, and responsive public services while promoting responsible economic development and strong financial stewardship. So there's a lot of very specific priority, very specific areas, processes, that sort of thing mentioned in the mission statement. Is anything missing from this? Is any general comments on this? This is about action. This is about the agency. This is what you're going to be doing to achieve the how you're going to be doing. How are you going to achieve that vision?
Can I just say, to me, this seems closer to what the vision statement should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got action words. It talks about where we want to be in the future, you know? And I always, in every organization I've ever been in, when we sit down to do vision and mission, I always get them backwards anyway. But, you know, maybe I'm being oppositional here, but this seems like a better fit for the vision statement. Based on
I don't think so. I don't think you're being oppositional, Seth. We've always presented that the vision is what happens after you do everything in the mission. So the mission is where you have your actions, and it's what guides that daily task, the daily work of the community. So yeah, the mission statement could be aspirational by nature a little bit, because that's how you want to be as an organization to achieve the end result, which is your vision. That's at least how we've defined it. I've also worked in organizations where it's kind of like, okay, which one's which, you know, that sort of thing. So, but I get what you're saying for sure. Matt, you have your hand up.
Zach, I really like this as a mission statement. I think these are the things that we are going to do to get to the vision once we straighten that out. But I really like this as a mission statement.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Helen, and then we'll go to Carol next.
So I think that, you know, it was funny because I was trying to poke holes at the, is it missing anything? And I think that it actually the beginning part of the attractive, sustainable, and welcoming environment, we maybe want to put it affordable, but I don't know that you need it, because welcoming could include that. I do feel like by including, though, the very specific things like schools, abundant natural resources, or responsive public services, that begs the question again, affordable housing. Do we want to put in affordability in there? Do we want to put in, we have responsive public services, but do we want to put anything in about kind of community engagement, which I think is always one that, so there's some things I wondered if we needed to add in order to make this be fully rich. But otherwise,
Okay.
I like the beginning part too. I would agree that I like the beginning part.
Let me just complete that note, Carol, and then we'll go to Jonathan next.
Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to do a little editing and add some language possibly to sort of have parallel phrases, like by offering premier schools, abundant natural resources. I don't think we can offer abundant natural resources. I think it's more important that we protecting abundant natural resources, and I would add natural and cultural resources. So make that protecting abundant natural and cultural resources. And maybe providing responsible public services while promoting something, I don't know, I'm just throwing out these extra words, but obviously it needs to be refined. And then I wondered if we could add for the entire community to the end of the sentence.
Make that note. Thank you, Carol. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, Jonathan.
Well, Carol kind of stole my thunder. I was keying in on the preserving our abundant natural resources, and I echo the cultural resources as well. I guess I'm a little I have mixed feelings about the terms strong financial stewardship. I'm not sure exactly what we mean by that, or what anybody would mean by that, as opposed to we want to make sure people know we're fiscally responsible. And I'm wondering if maybe we should think about changing that to something to reflect that instead, which is a little more brass tacks, perhaps.
Is strong the word that's tripping you up?
No, it's financial stewardship. I don't really know,
Okay.
and if it should be more like, and while remaining financially responsible. That might be how I would say it if somebody was asking me what my goal was as the, in a practice leadership role.
Okay. We'll go to David next.
Just curious if the word safe fits into here at all. From, my memory of our meetings, public safety was definitely in the mix.
Any thoughts from the group on that?
I mean, could that be
I-
included in public services?
Yeah, I was going to say responsive public services, I would think encompasses, public safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, our social services too, providing safe, assisting people with what they need.
But one is the service and one is to ensure, like it's what's the outcome of the service. So I think what David, just to kind of yell at me, David, if I'm saying the wrong thing, but it sounds to me like what you're asking is whether or not the word safe should be with attractive, sustainable, and welcoming. So
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
Yeah.
We're calling out, I'm thinking of this as, okay, we're going to spend money on developing our schools. We're going to spend money on natural resources. Are we going to be spending money on public safety? Is that a priority? Is that something that's going to drive our actions? So
sort of our mission is to ensure an attractive, safe, sustainable, and welcoming environment.
that was what I was thinking.
Works.
Yeah. But you have to use the Oxford comma.
Of course. I wouldn't have it any other way. Do we have general concurrence, at least on that, adding safe
Sure.
between sustainable? Okay. And then what else I'm seeing here on mission statement is, where's my notes? Protect our natural and cultural resources. Where are we at? Protecting abundant natural cultural resources, or wordsmith around there, having more of an action on protection, ensure protection of, and then at the end, just include for the entire community.
I'm sorry, I got hung up
Go
on
ahead,
something.
Jonathan.
Can we change by offering to just with? Because to ensure an attractive, safe, sustainable, and welcoming environment is not all it's not really that. It's a with moment. It's not the offering of premier schools makes us safer. It might make us more attractive and more sustainable. But if you just say with all of these things, then it's the right modifier.
Let me capture that note. Any thoughts on that while we have it out? And then I'll go to you, Bruce, next.
I could make a comment that changes the meaning though, Jonathan. So one is what we have to do in order to ensure. The other is saying we're going to ensure these things with these other things. So to me, it would imply that it changes the meaning. Am I misreading that?
I think I know what you're saying, but I'm not sure offering gives the meaning in the right way, because especially when you add safety, premier
What
schools
about by
don't offer
supporting?
safety.
What about by supporting?
Again, it's the same basic premise, Seth. If we're suggesting that we're ensuring by, what are we ensuring by doing? If we're ensuring attractive, sustainable, I mean, I'm not sure that's really, it changes the meaning subtly, but I'm not sure it changes our mission. Our mission is to ensure an attractive, safe, sustainable, and welcoming environment with premier schools.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't change it it's a subtle change, but I think it's more accurate.
Well, wouldn't it be by having premier schools, protecting abundant natural resources, cultural resources? Because I think one is what accomplishes the other. Like
It
having
has
all
to
of
be
these
active.
things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the activeness of the protecting, the having, the promoting, all of those words ensure the attractive, sustainable, safe, and welcoming environment.
I don't know. I think the action is the ensuring that we're doing. And then the attractive, sustainable, and welcoming environment includes these items.
You're ensuring the end result of an attractive, safe, and sustainable and welcoming environment. So you're ensuring that end result by, what did we have? We didn't have offering, we had providing, we had,
Protecting.
you're doing two actions
Protecting.
here. You're ensuring an end result through the actions of the rest of the statement.
Right, but because we've lumped it all into one pool, these different offerings do different things. That's the thing I'm trying to wrap my head around.
But I think the word offering is, I think that they had suggested taking that out and having premier schools, protecting abundant. So there would be a verb that
Other
would,
verbs.
yeah.
Yeah, and then providing responsive public services. You know,
Yeah.
you'd have to add an action there while promoting responsible economic development for all.
Yeah, I will say, let's go with the 80% rule, and if I'm still hung up with it, we'll go from there.
Okay, we'll
Thank
leave
you
it for now. Bruce has been patiently waiting. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
So for me, what's missing is who we're doing this for. We're not doing this to have schools or to protect resources. We're doing this for the well-being of our residents. And I think our opening should include something like that. Our mission is to prioritize the well-being of our residents. We will do that by offering premier schools, abundant, protecting our resources. But I think there needs to be a customer statement somewhere in here.
I'm going to jump in real quick. Could you just simply say our mission for the community is to ensure?
No, something like our mission is to prioritize the well-being of our residents. We will do that by. So we're identifying our residents as our reason, the answer to the question, why do we do these things for our residents?
I did suggest we add for the entire community at the end. I don't know if that addresses what you're saying, Bruce.
I mean, yeah, it's the same spirit, right? It's the same spirit. I'm just saying, hey, let's, right out of the gate, let's identify who our customer is.
Peggy, you were jumping in?
I was just going to say, our mission is to ensure Madison residents an attractive, sustainable, and welcoming environment, putting it up front, like making that hard statement. Our mission is to ensure Madison residents. these things, but we can put it at the end too. I'm indifferent.
The only problem I have with that is we talk about being welcoming, and part of what I would imagine we envision is vibrant retail and restaurant scene and downtown and beaches. And to say for Madison residents, while I understand the inclination to put that because we're trying to say we'll mostly benefit from it, but I think it sounds a little exclusionary to those other things.
I thought community worked better, but
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I hadn't looked at it. One question I'm trying to say though, is this the government?
Yeah,
Right.
this is because this is a strategic plan for your agency. These are
Right,
the actions
right,
that your agency
okay,
provides.
right.
So
Right, so I
responsible
think
economic
that was kind of
development.
the thinking behind, we're focused on Madison residents, but I think to your point, we want to be a welcoming community. We have a lot of people that come to Madison and use our facilities and have businesses here, so absolutely. And work in the town, right, who are not residents, so.
And
Good
spend
point.
money in the town
Yeah.
for our retail
Yep.
establishments.
And teach our kids.
That's certainly
So,
certainly part of your community.
yeah,
Let me see if I can get 80% concurrence. Would you want to have a entire community statement at the beginning or at the end?
I'm fine with either.
either's fine with me.
I'm fine with either as well.
All right. I'll try to throw something at the end and we'll see how it words out. Anything else on mission? I think I've got some other stuff to add in, some things here, and we can certainly get that revisions out to the team.
I mean, I just one last thing is I do think
Yeah, Seth.
whenever we mention economic development, we should probably endeavor to say community and economic development, because I think, again, that includes diversity of housing, additional housing for, like speaking on behalf of the Board of Ed, I would love to see young teachers and staff and be able to move into town and afford it.
Of course. What does the group say to that?
What if we don't say economic? What if we just say responsible development?
Liked it.
I think that's the right direction. I think what
I do
Carol's
as well,
proposed
too.
is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I do too. I think community development, cultural development is a lot more than just housing. There's a lot more things to it, but I do agree with the inclusion.
So just leave it as development.
Responsible development.
The only problem with that is that it almost sounds like that in this town, responsible development sounds like it only applies to housing development, like near the water or near watersheds, stuff like that. Maybe it's just me, but
what about growth? Responsible growth. And not have development as a word, because I do think that's a little bit of a lightning rod.
Yeah. Growth is good.
Yeah, I like that.
Unless you don't want.
Especially if we marry it with fiscal responsibility. Responsible growth and fiscal responsibility.
yeah.
Put growth and fiscal
I like the
responsibility.
financial stewardship. I have to say, I've had so many battles with people about the term fiscal responsibility, because that means a lot of different things. So I mean, I think this came from me, the strong financial stewardship. It's more like we're responsible with our budgets. We're, stewardship is that you are a caretaker, right? And you want to be responsible. So that's why I like that term better. Whereas fiscal responsibility, I feel got a little bit more of a political connotation to it. That's my personal perspective, but so I would throw that for the group's conversation.
Fiscal financial.
Financial management, strong financial management.
Would the word fiscal stewardship do it, or is it the word stewardship you didn't like, Jonathan?
It can mean anything, I guess. And I guess maybe that's the point, but I think the idea is that we want to convey that we're not, that we have I mean, in my mind, we want to convey that we are fiscally responsible. So I guess I don't think that has to be politically tinged necessarily. I mean, I in fact, I bristle a little at the idea that it's political because it suggests that one side of the aisle has fiscal responsibility in tow and the other doesn't. And I think that's a fallacy. So I don't know.
That's why I say, because I think it's used in that context sometimes. That's why. So I want to avoid anything that would be perceived in that way. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll stand with my opinion is mine, and it doesn't have to be that of the group, and I will be fine either way.
Well, let's keep it as written and we'll make some of the other additions and see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think that's
How
totally
about
fine.
if could I ask one last solution before I know we're ending, is what if you took the financially responsible or fiscally responsible words and plug them in as an adjective? So you said while promoting fiscally responsible growth and development, or whatever the words were at the end.
Growth. Yeah.
So you plug it in there so that it doesn't stand by itself, kind of as a.
I'd be fine with that again, but yeah, I think that takes away the sort of nebulousness of the financial stewardship, but it also then perhaps has those, to Peggy's point, if it is politically laden, we haven't taken away the politics of it, perhaps.
That's what I guess I would ask Peggy that. Do you think if you put it in as an adjective, would it make a difference?
Well, I don't think, but see, I think the financial stewardship also addresses, taxes, right? And that, investing in our buildings. And so if you put it in front of promoting fiscally responsible growth, I feel like it's tying it to development, right?
Yeah.
Whereas it's really also, we manage our town well, we're mindful of our expenses, we're, I guess I'm seeing it as independent from just, and I like taking economic out because I think, and using growth more, because that can be a lot of different things, right? Growing our commercial base, growing our housing base, but yeah, I mean, it's if there's some other ideas, Zach, that you could come up with that kind of address it, might be helpful to see that. But
no, I think in my experience, if you lead with your descriptors from a financially or fiscal viewpoint, then it construes that you're going to only be focusing on the fiscal responsibility of premier schools, protecting resources and public services, not necessarily the all-encompassing, organizational, the social aspects of it. If you lead with fiscal, then that means it's a great mission statement for the finance department. But you're looking organizational wide, that you're going to be looking at, your schools, your natural and cultural resources, your safe and responsive public services, and growth. But tying that all together, you're going to look at all those aspects, and financial stewardship is going to be a part of tying it all together. But it's not going to be the only footing and foundation. That's at least the way I've read it in my experience, with other cities and communities. Go ahead, Carol.
Sorry, one more thing to add. I just think that there's a nice balance actually between growth and stewardship, where, growth is expansion going forward, whereas stewardship is kind of taking care of what you have. So I can see keeping them both in somehow, maybe, whether it's promoting fiscally responsible growth and stewardship. I don't know if that works for everybody, but they're different, but they balance each other.
Well, but again, you're putting fiscally responsible with growth, but growth, you want to talk about growth in housing, business, it goes, being fiscally responsible with growth is certainly an aspect of it, but it's not. I see it as leading with fiscally responsible growth. That's all you're going to be focused on, because that's how it reads, not the other aspects of growth.
I'm happy to take out fiscally.
We'll leave it in there for now, but I do have Matt with a hand up here.
Oh,
yeah, I was just going to say, I agree with, Peggy's original input too about the financial stewardship. I definitely understand, the implications of that. It could be read different ways, but, just like we want to be good stewards of our resources and culture and things like that. We want to invest in the right things. We want to do what's right. It's the same for this as well too. So even if we don't use stewardship, we do have the responsibility. It would be nice to have that in there, that, we welcome in businesses, we welcome in, the revenues with that, and we want to be responsible with that. And again, this is for the town. But Zach, I definitely agree that if we step forward with fiscal, then the whole thing becomes about money. So.
Mhm. All right, we'll go to David and then Steph, and then I got to move on to our focus areas.
Not to belabor the point, but we promote growth. That's something we're encouraging. It's something we'd like to see happen. I don't think we promote strong financial stewardship. I mean, that's in our control. That's something that we can require, but I don't think promotes the right word, the right verb to go with that.
Okay. Great, thank you, David. And Seth.
So I'm sorry to add something completely, but if this is the mission statement for government, and the concept is, and I remember from some of the groups, the group activity early on and the responses, that there was a concern that government be transparent and responsive to the people. I think that instead of just saying and responsive public services, because public services are what we, sewer, police, I think we need to say and responsive government, or maybe add responsive government and, appropriate public service, some other descriptor for public services. But I think responsive should go with government. And then public services needs a different descriptor.
I'm gonna look to the group.
Well, I think it's a fair point. We don't really talk about our form of government. We have a huge volunteer government, right? So that is kind of missing from this in some ways. My lens is on, town operations, right? But it's really more than that. It is how we conduct government in a transparent and democratic way for the residents to participate. So I'm not sure. I mean, you could say, you could add abundant natural resources, a responsive government, and high quality public services.
Yes, high quality, perfect.
And then maybe saying, while promoting growth, responsible growth, coupled with strong financial stewardship, I'm trying to, I don't know. Some way to wrap that last concept, promoting responsible growth. Because I think you can promote strong financial stewardship. I do think that's something you can promote, actually. So, and I think that's what we always try to do through our planning, that we do. And, we try to think ahead and plan and save. And, those, in my view, are the ways that we promote strong financial stewardship, is by planning for the future. So that's where I would say I'm still comfortable with this, but
I still like strong, because this is a statement of what you're doing. Promoting is like, well, we'll promote financial stewardship, but we may or may not do it. We're really big fans of it, but I think, through strong financial stewardship, and then we're adding for, the entire community at the end as well. I think that would be a good way of, kind of capturing that, but still making sure that it's something that you're doing now and into the future.
Could you add providing after the word and providing strong financial stewardship? That's the difference in the two words to me.
Right. So you want a different verb from promoting. So promoting.
Yeah, we're promoting responsible growth, and we're providing strong financial stewardship.
Maintaining?
Maintaining. Yeah, I like maintaining better. I think
Maintaining's more sustainable.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go with maintaining.
Good luck, Zach.
And then at the full list.
So can I offer another out of the thesaurus? How about while embracing responsible economic development, strong financial stewardship?
Well, we're getting rid of economic development, and it would be while embracing responsible growth. And
Okay, I mean, I'm I am just reading what's on the screen. I realize that we changed it,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
particular, if it's a strong affirmation that we're looking for,
Not seeing
I
a lot of
I
support
feel,
for
it's funny, I just feel like the word embrace and financial in the same, don't match well, that's all. Like, I feel like it's over the top a little bit for, to talk about financial. Whereas if you're talking about embracing, diversity, you're embracing, so I just don't know if it's the right one that I would use, but.
I think I would vote for the maintaining somewhere in there, because I thought the maintaining was an important one, because it's something we're doing and we want to continue to do, kind of thing. Some of the other words make it sound like we're not doing it, but we're gonna do it. And I don't think that's what we're trying to say.
Well, let's work with maintaining, and we'll see how that plays out. Okay. Now I want to go through our key areas of focus. And before I change the slide, just preface that these are what the priority areas will be for the strategic plan. And I believe there's 7 or 8 that we had gleaned from our previous conversations. We've gleaned from surveys and interviews and focus groups and visioning sessions. And what we're looking for tonight is just simple concurrence on these areas. I did add some sub areas to show that, a financial priority area could encompass these things, growth, open space, that sort of thing. And what we need from the Spac group is just concurrence on this large list. And then part of our retreat will be to prioritize, consolidate, correct, amend. That will happen at the retreat. Get it down to a list of like 5 priorities from which we can build our goals. Does that make sense? Okay.
I just want to real quickly, because it's my daughter's 14th birthday, so they've been
Yeah, get after it.
We're about to go out to dinner.
happy birthday.
So I know I gave some feedback in the chat, or in the draft about my thoughts on that. So I'll leave that with the team. I know you guys are being very deliberate and thoughtful about all of this. So if it's okay, I am going to bow out now. And appreciate all the great, dialogue. And it's interesting to hear how people approach and what they think about words sometimes, because I think a lot of times we just kind of blow through this stuff and don't really think about it carefully. And everybody here is thinking very carefully about it. So thank you for that. Okay.
Thanks,
Happy
Peggy.
birthday to your daughter.
Okay.
So
and
actually,
do you need me, Zach, for anything before I leave?
I don't think so. We'll be catching up. Our meeting got moved to next week. So I'll talk to you over email or next Wednesday at the meeting.
Okay. Thanks a lot. All right. Have a good night.
you.
Bye.
Happy
So
birthday,
like Peggy,
daughter.
Thanks.
like Peggy, it's my wife's birthday, so I'm sorry I'm not on camera. I'm trying to cook and host and do everything as well too. So I'm gonna bow out as well too. But thank you so much.
Happy birthday to Jen.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll make
you.
sure she knows. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. I appreciate everyone hanging in. Let me get to where we're at here. Oh, let me get the slide. If I can stop share for a moment, I apologize. I have the slide hidden for some reason. Okay, can you see key areas of focus now?
Yes.
Okay, so if you look at the right, the priority areas that we have, and I'm going to go just change my viewpoint here so I can read from the slide. High performing government, financial and environmental sustainability, diverse housing opportunities. So I emphasized housing because that was discussed during public comment. Green space, green and open space, safe and healthy community, vibrant, thriving, innovative business and economy, arts and culture, modern and innovative infrastructure, multimodal transportation. We do have our subsets that have, just a little bit more of how these will be defined in some of those areas. Helen, I see your hand raised. And you're on mute. There we go.
I don't, yeah, sorry. I just don't see your screen at all. So I don't know kind of what's happened on this end, if it's goofy or not. Would it be okay if you just like unshared and shared again?
Yep.
Thanks.
How's that?
I saw your other screen, and then once you stopped sharing, I'm not seeing it anymore. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'll leave and I'll come back.
It's funny because I see it perfect.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was going to ask if others can see it.
I wonder if it was because her
Yes.
hand was up.
Well, I could go, you have the list in that web, you have the list in the email, I think. That's
Yeah.
got-
Cheryl sent
Yeah.
it, isn't it?
I'll look at it from there. That'll work fine. So that way I don't have to keep stopping things. So
Mhm. And then Helen, from the list in the email, it was the ones I believe were colored that Cheryl had colorized over the black. So if you're looking at high performing government and, these will be just the priority areas that the team and the retreat will focus on, try to whittle this down to about 5, see what we can consolidate. And then the exercises that I'll take everyone through on day 2 will be to go through, okay, what is specifically high performing government? What are some goals, objectives that we can provide for those areas? So, there's a lot of discussion about organizational structure. There's a number of boards and commissions and committees for the town. There was talk about the town hall form of government versus, a town or city manager type government. But high performing government also encompasses communication, transparency, investment into technology, programming and services, diversity and inclusion. If you look at financial and environmental sustainability, you talk about tax rates for services, maintaining a good bond rating, a focus on the environment, diverse housing opportunities. That can certainly be expanded. You talk about what's a definition of affordable housing, but what's also an attainable housing. A lot of the discussion was talking about, seniors that want to remain in town. They want a smaller place to live. Family housing, so families that can grow with the housing and remain in Madison. High school graduates can go off and get a degree at Yale or wherever, and then come back and be able to live in Madison. Same with workforce housing, where your police officers, your teachers living in town. Business owner housing as well. Obviously you've got the beach, the open space, state parks, trails, and open space. So a priority for green space, open space. Safe and healthy communities. So you look at air and water quality, recreational opportunities. We had medical care on the list as well. And then business and economy. I'm just going to shorten that real quick, but your strong downtown businesses, maintaining healthy neighborhood shops for small business. Arts and culture. So historic preservation, cultural and community events, public art. And then with the infrastructure, you talk about well-designed roads and trails, updated and modern water, wastewater / septic systems, and then multimodal transportation. We had a lot of comments on walking and bike paths, trails, but also road and pedestrian connectivity from North Madison down to South Madison down to downtown. The train system was often talked about as well. Public transportation, and then we had self-driving cars in there as well. So you kind of look to the future. Any questions on these key areas of focus? If there's anything I can help sort out to bring it into people's minds a little bit better, I'm more than happy to do that. But I want to just get some general thoughts of the group here as well. David.
Real quickly, just there's 9 of them here and they're slightly different in the document, where some of them are rolled into other ones.
Yeah, so some of them are rolled into other ones. I think we had a little formatting going on.
So
But
these
also
are
that
the
could
9.
convey that some of the priorities, we talk about consolidation. When we get to the retreat, we start going through prioritization. Some of those could be, take green and open space could be converted into safe and healthy communities. So you consolidate that, and then you do a goal on maintaining, green and open space to maintain a healthy community. So that's where you can kind of see where they could be split out, but they could also be consolidated as well.
Is there a magic? I thought that there's a smaller number that we were trying to get to. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, well, at the retreat, we will try to get to 5.
Okay.
So all we're looking for tonight is just concurrence out of these 9 priority areas. You know, would these be good enough to move forward? Do we have 80% concurrence to consensus? As we talk about, can you live with it? Can you support it to bring to the retreat? And then we'll open the hood on these and really get the ratchets out and start taking them apart.
Yeah.
I saw Carol's hand first and then Helen.
I just want to say that I think these issues look great, and I can also, seeing it in this chart format, Zach, I think I can immediately see how we can maybe even combine some of these, so that would
Sure.
shorten the list as well. But it looks fine to go to the retreat, I think.
Okay. Helen.
So I was thinking as you were describing them through the mission statement that we just talked about, and one of the first things in the mission statement is about education. And I don't see education here. Is it supposed to be here, or so just a question about education and the educational system?
Yeah, oops, I forgot to raise my hand and ask about that.
Okay.
Thank you, Helen.
So that's
Well,
why
Dan,
I
usually-
get raised too, is the statements that we make in the vision and the mission, I think by definition have to be addressed in the priorities.
Well, that's what I was thinking through that lens as I was listening to these. I was like, okay, which things are in the mission statement? And so education just popped out at me as being one that wasn't listed here. So I didn't know how we want to incorporate that, or whether we can absorb that into one of these priorities, which is fine. I just don't want to forget it.
Yeah, and and I hate to use the facilitator term, let's put a pin in it, let's put it in the parking lot. But we will be having a lot of time devoted on day 1 of our retreat to exactly that. And we're going to have a big group, at least at the most 25 people. So I believe, department heads, other community members, maybe not community members, but, don't quote me on that. But we're going to have a lot more people to have those discussions. And you might have the idea like, okay, education comes into safe and healthy community, or maybe we reword safe and healthy community to something that can encompass safety, health, environment, and education, that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely, I really appreciate that. I made a note for concurrence with the mission and vision statement. But yeah, definitely bring that up. I appreciate that. Anything else on these? I'm going to throw them in the agenda then for our retreat. Okay. So I got some wordsmithing to do on both the vision and mission statement, and I'm going to try to get that out to the group. If I could get some concurrence on that as well. I think if we bring, what we want to do, our goal is to have the mission and vision statement at least 80% complete when we come back to the group at the retreat, something that they can build on. We just don't have the time to do a vision statement, a mission statement exercise with a larger group. So our goal next week will be to have at least 80% concurrence. If you can live with it, you can support it. You may not love it. And then I'll be back in a month. Actually, I will be on the ground and in front of you all in person at the September Spac meeting. I believe it's September 20th. And that's where we will bring sort of that final language, which will include mission, vision. It'll include the refined key areas of focus, as well as objectives and goals that were developed at the retreat. So we'll have that chance to review then as well too. So any questions on what we talked about so far?
You did a great job synthesizing all this stuff. You really have. There's so many sources, and to put it into this packet is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's it's really fun to do. It's really fun to work with communities and kind of distill it all together. With our conversation this evening, I'm really glad that it's recorded, so I could certainly refer back to some of the statements to make sure I got it right. So keep an eye out in your email, And the next couple days, I'll get something out. I appreciate it. And then the retreat will be at the Senior Center, Friday, September 8th, Saturday, September 9th. I believe invites have been already sent out. And unless there's anything else, I appreciate everyone's time this evening. I don't want to close out the meeting. I guess this isn't my meeting, but at least my portion. And
We
I'll
can't
hang
close
out
it because
through the,
Peggy left and she opened it, so we're stuck here.
we're stuck. Oh man, I gotta go get my kid. Yeah, no.
Is, is our next connection the retreat? Yeah,
I
okay,
believe so. Yeah.
okay.
Thank you,
Bruce, aren't
Zach.
you empowered to act on her behalf?
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, I'm
Isn't
Peggy.
Bruce
Yeah.
empowered?
Bruce
to
is the
take-
vice chair, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bruce.
I'm empowered. I'm
Oh,
empowered.
Bruce is
Okay,
meeting
you-
now. Okay.
You
Let
don't
us
have to go
go,
home, but
Bruce,
you
let
can't
us
stay
go.
here. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank
Bruce.
you.
Good job.
Thank you, Zach.
Everybody.
Thanks all.
Thanks,